Hello. Thank you for watching Taxpayer Alert. I'm Al Segala. I'll be a moderator. I'm also president of the Calaveras County Taxpayer Association, and you can go to our website for more information. And we have a series of programs that we think will help the voter and the taxpayer become better informed of what's happening with government and our economy. And we always support our Constitution, of course, and we do want to have a thriving local economy. We have a series of, this is over 100 episodes so far, and each of them are very interesting, and they're on the YouTube, and they can be brought down and looked at and emailed, and just an incredible educational opportunity. Our guest this time is Russ Thomas. Russ Thomas is a former supervisor, and presently he's a director in District 4 of CCWD, which is the Calaveras County Water District. And so we'll be talking about water issues during this show. And Russ, welcome.
Thank you, Al.
It seems like we have, go back a number of years, we not only are you involved with water now, you're a former supervisor, and you sing, and you sang in our annual barbecues several times, and it's just a fascinating. And also, you go overseas, and you're involved in Uganda.
No. I worked for about 3 years in Somalia.
Somalia.
In Mogadishu, Somalia.
Oh man, that's a scary place for me. But we only have so much time on this program, so we might be able to touch a little bit on that. But we're going to really look at water issues in our county. One of the important things, of course, about water is districts. We're broken into. You're in District 4, and some districts. Tell us about how these districts work.
Well, first of all, the Calaveras County Water District was formed by an action back in 1946 that was approved by the state of California that provided for the district to be established to provide for the planning and delivery of water throughout the county. Now, having said that, there are other smaller districts throughout the county that also have jurisdictions that we don't overlap them. Their sections are carved out of the county, but we have an overriding responsibility to provide water and wastewater treatment for the county. The Division 4 that I represent, and let me go in a little bit about how I came to be on the board. When Supervisor Mills was in the position that I'm in, the representative for District 4, and he got himself elected to be a supervisor instead of a water district board of directors. So there was an opening there, and I saw that the board was looking for people to apply to fill that position, and I thought that it would be a good fit for me. So I applied along with about 7 or 8 other people within the district, and the board selected me, and I'm very proud that they did. And then I was elected for, I was technically an incumbent, but I was an appointed incumbent, but now I am the elected official, and the area represents, or the area that is encompassed by the area that I represent is Copperopolis, beginning in the west boundary.
Division 4 and District 4 are the same thing.
Yes.
Supervisor division.
There are small little quirky differences, but pretty much they overlie the same supervisor versus the division.
Okay.
Okay, it starts in Copperopolis and goes up the Highway 4 corridor to include Angels Camp. It goes on up to Vallecito, and that is the extent of the district. But there's often a lot of confusion among the people who live in Angels Camp about why it is that they even vote for a director of CCWD, since they have their own city water provider and city sewer is provided by the city, or excuse me, all the residents within that area. They are confused about why it is that they see a CCWD director on their ballot.
Right.
And the answer to that is because each year, every parcel in the county has a small portion of their property tax goes toward the support of CCWD. As a matter of fact, it often is as much as $3 to $3.5 million that's collected from our the amount of money that the tax collector collects for that particular item gets diverted back to CCWD. So if you're taxed, then you have a right and a privilege to vote
elect
for the official. So I hope that clears that up a little bit. It has nothing to do with whether the service is provided. If you're paying for the tax, then you have that right.
Are there any restrictions on that, on the use of those taxes that are collected from everybody? In other words, can it be used for one purpose but not another? Can it be used for operation of CCWD?
Well, no, we are careful about that, and you can't use ratepayer monies to fund certain activities. Probably the most recent and the one that I was very supportive of is a customer assistance program that everybody. Not everybody, but quite a number of people within the county have difficulty making ends meet, and we recognize that as the board of directors of CCWD as well. So we have funded a $60,000 program annually to help those people that they have a threshold of qualification. They have to be on the program sponsored by PG&E first. That sort of eliminates the necessity for us to have someone vet an applicant if they are in the CCWD, the PG&E program, that proves to us that they're eligible for ours. So so far we've got about 150 families that are applying for and getting the benefit of that. And those taxes, or the taxes that we discussed earlier, are used to fund that, not ratepayers' contributions or ratepayers, the amount of money that their monthly contributions. So it cannot be used for that.
Are there any other areas where the tax funds could not be used?
You're kind of putting me on the spot here.
We don't plan this.
I know very clearly that we have to be very mindful of the fact that we cannot use the ratepayers' money to do things like that are discretionary, or somebody might say, well, this is not the proper thing for CCWD to be doing, but the board of directors felt strongly that it was, and we have this availability of those funds. Very fortunately, they're there, and so we chose to use them. So.
Well, there could be a catastrophe where I understand there's a lot of old pipes in the ground that need to be. Well,
we have funds that are not within the financial arrangements, the budgetary arrangements for the district. We have various accounts. A 300 account, a 500 account, and the 300 is for water and 500 is for sewer. Those are pots of money that can be used to go do repairs, and there's an
Okay.
R&R fund that has millions of dollars in it, and those have been accumulated over the years through the rate increases. I mean, we often, I've only been involved in this for a couple of years, but
Right.
I've been a rate payer in the district for 20 years, and it's often we're criticized because our rates are going up and up and up, but if we weren't raising the rates sufficiently, we couldn't afford to repair things.
Right.
So it's kind of, you recognize the need to repair it. You go through a year spending the money that was required to do the repairs,
Yeah.
and then you project next year's budget based on that, and we can't raise rates all the time. It's every 5 years, but
Right.
we went through a rate increase last year.
In real estate, especially in income property, money is put aside to repair a roof, or and this is when things are not kept up, you have a monetary figure called deferred maintenance. Deferred maintenance means that sometimes when the property is sold, that's the time that a deferred maintenance gets fixed because the buyer wants everything to be brought up. When you have infrastructure in utilities like water and sewer, it seemed like you probably know how long a pipe will last in the ground, and it seems like, okay, it's going to cost so much to replace that whole thing, and then you divide the amount of time by the cost, and then it seemed like you should be putting that amount of money aside to replace it. And I'm not sure if that's happening, or if we're dependent upon the state to help in these expenses.
You're right that there should be a formulation that you can use to predict when the pipe needs to be replaced. It's very unfortunate that in this particular region, Calaveras County is known for its rock. Is that right?
Right, that's true.
Okay, yeah. Well, a lot of the pipes that were put in 20 or 30 years ago, there wasn't a sufficient amount of care or inspections, and people were doing the work in a manner that they would put a pipe in the ground and backfill it, often with rock, and not being too careful about it. So when the pipe is in contact with the rock and there's changes in fluctuation in pressure, the pipe moves. You really can't perceive that it's moving, but it is moving.
Right.
And the rock, a sharp point of that rock will eat right through these distribution pipes.
Those are steel?
No, there's a product called Techite. We just actually rejected bids on replacing about 7,000 feet of Techite pipe up on the Highway 4 corridor.
Is that like PVC?
It is a form of PVC, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, it was thought to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, and it didn't work out that way. So we're paying the consequences of that, and that's like an extraordinary repair. But if we had to repair everything that needed to be repaired, we would be spending $150 million.
Right, you can't do it all at once.
No, so it has to be done incrementally, and we have to choose the most vulnerable areas. It isn't my district, but it's Jeff Davidson's district over in the Rancho Calaveras subdivision that there have been, in the last month or so, there have been 55 different incidences where the crews have gone out to fix leaky pipes, and that's a result of customer complaints and citizens' observations, and also just monitoring the leakage. There's a certain amount of what you would call, you know how much raw water is coming in and how much processed water you're going out, and you can also know how much water you're selling, and oftentimes there are thousands and thousands of gallons that are unaccounted for, and it can't be going anywhere except in the ground. So,
right. Yeah.
So that we're actively pursuing the correction of those faulty pipes.
Oh, maybe you can do like a pressure test on a length of line, and if it doesn't hold pressure, like you do with a house.
Well,
no.
yeah, but that would be subject to somebody's faulty irrigation system in their house. That would not be a foolproof test because the water could be going in somebody's backyard and not leaking in the road. And frankly, the district does not have responsibility for maintaining the pipes that are beyond the meters.
Right.
They're up to the meters, but the property owner has to maintain that from the meter to their property.
So do they have a way of finding where those leaks are?
There are listening devices that you can do it, but what they very frequently, almost without exception, when the pipe is leaking a lot, you can see it.
Oh, it comes on the ground.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a soft spot in the road, and the Copper Cove subdivision has had their fair share of that, and Rancho Calaveras is probably the worst, though.
Yeah.
So.
Now, is the district putting enough money aside? Remember we talked about what would be needed over a period of time? Or are we running short a little bit? Or
I believe that we are. We went through a long budget session yesterday. It was a special meeting and starting at 10. Normally our meetings start at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
But this was at 10 o'clock. And while we're on that subject, I would like to appeal to your viewers to make a note of the meetings and come down. We don't have very much citizen participation. That's
I've been meaning to go, and I was doing something else.
but we, I don't know. I guess we're not a very exciting group of people or something. But it would be helpful to have people's input on some of these decisions that we've been making. So,
Well, what are the dates of the meetings for the month?
Of the second and fourth Wednesday.
Second and fourth Wednesday. Do you have a pencil? We'll wait for you to get your pencil. Write that down. And the location of the meeting is off of Pool Station Road.
On Toma Court.
Toma Court. All
That's,
right.
The world headquarters of CCWD.
All right. It's a beautiful building.
Yeah. I also want to mention a little bit about our new general manager, Michael Minkler.
Yeah.
What an impressive young man. He went to work with us in January, and he's doing an impressively good job. He's just very happy about the fact that we were able to get somebody that was familiar to us. He used to be the general manager of the Utica Water and Power in Murphy's, or in Angels, excuse me. But he hit the ground running, and anyway, keep your eye on him. He's going to be a good guy, very helpful.
We got a really excellent director of public works in the county now. Mm-hmm. He was on a guest on his program. And I was just impressed with his abilities and his knowledge. Mm-hmm. And also with, he's got a very positive attitude.
Yeah, I have also met Josh. I hope we have a good relationship.
You're bound to.
It's really pretty essential that the CCWD and the county virtually have to get along. We're both in the business of providing service and to the citizens of the county. So if we're at opposite ends of an attitude or methodology, then that doesn't work. So
no.
I'm happy that I have the background with the county and that I can apply that knowledge in the position that I'm in now. So.
Yeah, that's good. Also, your background in being a former supervisor gives you a viewpoint that goes beyond just the water. You see what's happening in the overall county and the direction it's going. Mm-hmm. And also, thanks to programs like this, you can share this with people. You're one of the very few supervisors that actually come up with ideas to improve the economy in the county. I remember that when you had a presentation to the Board of Supervisors on expanding the use of New Melones on its westerly shore, mm-hmm. allowing people in Copperopolis to also use No Maloney's. I don't know, incredible idea. We might have to talk about that on another program coming up, but now we're still on the water. Is there anything else? Sigma is a big issue.
Okay, the sigma is just the term that people use to describe or to put a name to the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. It's a mandated state law that its intent is to put in balance the amount of water that's being extracted from the groundwater basin in the Central Valley. They don't want the water table to continue to go down and down and down like it has been for the last few decades.
Right.
It's a pretty complicated thing. Our county is involved with 16 other groundwater management basins that make up the East San Joaquin Basin. We have like that much involvement compared to a great, huge amount of involvement, but the law doesn't allow you to have that much participation in the effort. I mean, it's a total commitment, and the county has joined CCWD in that now. But I suspect that some of the groundwater pumpers, although we have very few, there's a possibility that they may be looking at having their groundwater, the amount of groundwater that they're extracting might be monitored more closely. So what the opportunity for CCWD lies in the fact that we have unused water, I hesitate to call them rights, but they're
allotments.
Allotments, yeah. Senior allotments that go back to the teens and the 20s.
Right.
There is a fairly strong possibility that unless we find a way to use those, that they're going to be taken away from us.
Yeah.
They were put there in the beginning, recognizing that the county would grow over time and it would grow into the need to have more water, and we've never used as much as we have allocated to us. But we have, I think, certainly an opportunity to divert some of that water, surface water,
right,
into a mechanism that would recharge the groundwater basin,
yeah,
and we would conceivably be able to make money for the county in that process.
It seems like all the roads that are going along the contours could actually be leach fields. On the edge of the road you have a ditch. That ditch could also be a leach field. You just dig down, put gravel, and make sure it's porous, and you'll be recharging.
Well, the geology is a good deal more complicated than just.
Oh darn! I thought I had a solution.
No. I have occasionally made a joke about the fact that we do have leaking pipes and we're contributing to the groundwater basin recharge because of the leaking pipes, but it's not very efficient to treat the water and spend the money to treat it and then let it leak into the ground.
No, it's not.
So we have to be on the guard against that. But I've been participating for the last couple of years in that Sustainable Groundwater Management Act preparation. I go to Stockton to attend those meetings, and anyway.
What methods do they use to recharge the groundwater? Besides what I suggested.
Well, some people are using a method that's not totally dissimilar to that. They're drilling dry wells,
okay,
and they're putting water back into the ground. And there's groundwater recharge basins where between here and Stockton, there's a large one off to the right as you go into Stockton that's been there for years.
They go through a gravel lens. Mm-hmm. You have your vertical shaft, penetrates a lens, and the water's pumped and just floods that lens.
Well, it's You have to be a kind of a halfway geologist to understand how it all works. But you can, if you're taking the water out of the ground, you can also put it back in.
Yeah.
And there's this is an area of great opportunity, I think. Say for instance, you have children that are trying to figure out what they want to be when they grow up.
Right.
After having been involved in this water business for a little while, I think that among the greatest opportunities for young people right now is to get licenses in water treatment plants,
Right.
Ground or the wastewater treatment, because the state laws are getting so stringent on that we're clamoring to get good people, and once you get into that industry, you'd have a job forever. It's not. Those opportunities are only going to grow. That would be. You have kids?
Well, I got 3 chickens, 3 cats, and 1 wife. They're all happy. They all love me except for 1 cat.
Yeah.
1 cat doesn't like me.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what that cat knows. That's interesting. Joel Metzger had some points. He was very successful in a program to cause people to cut back on water usage. Mm-hmm. It meant a lot of dead lawns. And then it was discovered that we really didn't have a shortage here. Mm-hmm. The overall state had a shortage, and we had to sort of like go along with that. And it turned out that then we had a problem in funding our operations because the income dropped so dramatically because people were using less water.
Yeah. That was a very difficult thing to explain to people about why you have to raise rates. We've been cutting back. We're hardly using any water compared to what we used to use. But the explanation, frankly, lies in the fact that the cost of the water is a very small portion of what the operation costs.
Right.
We live in a county where we enjoy the rural atmosphere and the lack of high rises and dense developments, but that translates into oftentimes you would have 3 or 4 parcels served by a half-mile pipeline, whereas in the city you might have 3,000 parcels on that 3,000 or 1,000-foot pipeline. So.
Did we do the right thing by encouraging people to cut back on water use?
We had no choice because it was a state mandate.
The state made us do it.
Yeah, a state mandate.
Kind of like the devil made us do it.
Yeah, but the consequences of that was that our income from water sales did go down $400,000 during that period.
That's pretty significant.
It's very significant, yeah. So. And so we had to make an incremental raise in the rates to get back so that we can maintain the operation, pay salaries, benefits, buy the trucks, buy the gas. So
what a challenge.
Well, it's complex, and I'm glad that we have some very, very professional people there at the district that we depend on them to make the right decisions, and we do, like Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify. So we have some pretty sharp people on our board too. So
I'm glad that we have directors like you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Taxpayer Alert. We'll see you next time.